So the second book I did was a Socratic dialogue, Alcibiades. What's in the style of Socratic dialogue is between the characters Alcibiades and Socrates. The authenticity is a little debated. It could be written by Plato, but it could be written by somebody imitating Plato. But either way, the author's dead. I think the dating's around 350 BCE, so I can use this book. Alcibiades was the nephew of Pericles. He was an Athenian politician. He was, very self-absorbed. He's a narcissist. People say he was the most beautiful man ever. He was a general. And he kind of like was also a traitor. He kind of switched between that Athenian sides, the Persians, the Spartans, pretty much whatever was going to benefit him, and not really other people around him. He also was a student of Socrates, and was said that they were in a romantic relationship, which is a little weird because Alcibiades and Socrates were complete opposites. Socrates is a very reserved person. He was He was a philosopher. He had all these like very scholarly ideas. Where Alcibiades was somebody more interested in gaining power, money, and just doing things for his own amusement and popularity. So the dialogue between them is interesting. They have this weird bit where Socrates is talking about, how I'll always be like your only lover no matter like where you go. I'll always be like your true lover and things like that. And Alcibiades eventually agrees with him, like, yes, of course, and like, I'll always be your student, whatever. And Socrates also like one of the reasons Socrates was put on trial and was killed because of the charges of corrupting the youth, and Alcibiades is one of the youth he supposedly corrupted, even though in this dialogue it shows that he's really trying to help Alcibiades. They talk about first they kind of talk about like politics and like, is justice and expediency and politics like the same thing, or can they both happen? And Alcibiades is arguing that yes, justice and now expediency can happen, but again, Socrates proves him wrong, as always, and he gets Alcibiades to agree that they're kind of opposed, like, no. So he's kind of opposed, and this happens like for a lot of things. And then they talk about and then like talk about justice as well, and Alcibiades admits, like, no teacher has ever taught what justice was, and also that like he never really learned it himself, so he can't really know what justice is. But the thing I don't like about this is Socrates only like answers in questions, and he kind of alludes to his answers, but he doesn't really give an answer. So you're really left wondering, it's like, okay, Socrates admits he doesn't know what justice is, and Alcibiades doesn't know what justice is, so I really haven't learned anything because they never really come to a conclusion of what justice is. They kind of just move on to the next topic of peace and politics, where Alcibiades is obviously like very ignorant in politics. He's like, oh, I don't have to know. I'm not really worried about being like, ignorant in politics, like, as he just proved me to be, because everybody else is ignorant too. But then Socrates then reminds him that, you're not really going up against the other politicians. You have to go against Sparta and the Persian rulers. And then he's like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And Socrates is like, yes. And kind of like the last line of the dialogue is when Socrates like says, hey, like he really like urging him to go like to continue with his studies, yet he's also hesitant that he will because of all the pressures around him. And so it's kind of sad that like Socrates is really trying to help him, but Alcibiades doesn't really have much interest in it. So I think this book is very interesting and thought-provoking, and really gets you thinking, and I think that's what the style of Socratic dialogue is supposed to get you to, because you're never going to really find a straight answer of what justice is, or how politics should be, or how you should act in your daily life, but it will dispel some of your own beliefs, and I think that's important. That doesn't just tell you, okay, this is what justice is, how you should act, because you have to think for yourselves and about things. So I think that's what I really like about the Socratic dialogue. But on the other hand, it's also it's the same thing. You read it, Alcibiades is going to get proven wrong because he's an idiot, and Socrates is going to answer questions, leads him to other questions, and then so it gets kind of boring a little bit, but it's also really interesting. I also think it's worth talking about why does it really matter if Plato or somebody else wrote it, because they're still using the same style and they're still trying to get the same points ish across about who is about like just what the dialogue is. So I don't really think it really matters who the author is, except for authenticity. Like, oh, did this dialogue actually happen? Yes or no? You can't really answer that. But I also don't think it really matters if it happened or not, because you're still learning something from it. So I think I would recommend this book to people. I think, it's not overrated or anything. I think it's like, it really makes you think more than a regular book is, which is trying to argue a specific point, where Socrates is really just trying to say, what you think isn't always what you know. And I think the social value is people tend to get caught up in their own ideas, and they don't really take a second to like look at their ideas, and they also have a hard time saying that they're wrong, and that they don't like admitting they're wrong, or that what they're thinking is wrong. So like when you expose the they're kind of like hypocrites, then they have no choice but to confront the beliefs, whether they do it openly or they do it internally. And I think a book is a good way for them to do it internally without feeling threatened, because obviously not like standing next to a person or anything, or in the audience. So yes, that is reviewed by Alcibiades 1.